So yeah, my name's Tony Nwachukwu. I'm a producer and educator and DJ based in London. I also run a music agency and community called CDR. And I'm really happy to have this panel for Practice What You Teach. We're going to explore this world between artist, producer, and educator. As you know, artists and producers have got many skills beyond the stage and in the studio, but there's something about education platforms that's quite compelling and exciting, and a place where more and more artists and producers are being, as a way of engaging communities, engaging different audiences, but more importantly, in the future, we hope, engaging curriculum. All right, so what we'll do is our panelists will present projects they've been developing, and then we'll open out for questions. What we want to try and do here is try and unpick this world between artist, producer, and educator. You know, there's lots of things that we can look at, particularly after seeing their projects. You know, some kind of themes will present themselves, and we'll use it as an opportunity to discuss them. And I hope by the end of it, you'll all be inspired and want to create change, particularly in mainstream education. Yeah, is that cool? Excellent. Okay, so first up, we have Erin Barra.
Hello. My name's Erin Barra. I'm an associate professor at the Berklee College of Music, which is a role I kind of fell into through educating children. So where it all kind of started for me was with this program called Beats by Girls, which is, I mean, there's a little video that will probably sum it up better than I can.
Should we watch that first? And then
Yeah.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Erin Barra, and I'm the creator of Beats by Girls at the Lower East Side Girls Club. We're a non-traditional, creative, and educational campaign designed to empower young women to explore music technology. Check it out.
So all this music is by the girls.
Making beats and like expressing what I liked. I really like making beats, so I want that could be like something I want to be in the future, something that can help me in life.
So what do you got there, Jada?
I made this for Beats by Girls because it's my favorite class and that's how I felt about it.
So I started there, and it kind of just snowballed for me. I didn't intend to really be in the education space, but the response to this was so positive, and then from there, I kind of got poached from this position, actually, to come teach at Berklee. And so I created it's called a MOOC, which stands for Massive Open Source Online Curriculum. And I think there's actually a few people that have taken my course in this room. I run into them all over the world now because we've had about 70,000 people take the course, and it's a 3-week intro to Ableton Live with no hardware necessary and no prior experience with music necessary to complete the course. And it all runs via the demo, or runs during the length of the demo, so it's all completely free as well. And we've had people from 120 different countries, and 20% of those people were female, which is huge number-wise for music technology courses. So kind of like serving my own community has really benefited me a lot. And probably 99% of my private clients are female also. And then now I chair the technology committee for the professional writing division at Berklee. So we're rethinking the way we teach technology to people who tend to use the creative side of their brain as opposed to the technical side. And that's what I'm working on now, and it's cool. I've kind of combined making music and communicating, which I think is ultimately what it is that I'm good at, with teaching, and it's really satisfying and fun for me.
Thank you, Erin.
Thanks.
All right, next up, Lawrence Grey.
Hi, my name's Lawrence. I just want to say I'm so happy to be here. This has been amazing. So I run a company in LA called Young Producers Group. I started it because I saw that kids in neighborhoods that weren't so nice and neighborhoods that are super nice are all listening to the same music and all want to make the same stuff. So if I can teach them all separately how to make music and then provide after-school classes and bring them into each other's schools and get them making music together, then their electronic music development parallels the amazing social and personal growth that is really not happening in the US. For the most part, kids from different backgrounds don't mix, and I'm really trying to change that. So I actually got the idea for the company working at what's called a restorative justice center. So kids who are arrested and serve time in juvenile detention facilities are mandated by the courts to attend this after-school program. And these kids come from this was in New York. They came from East Brooklyn. I'm from West LA, two places that really couldn't be more different. But as soon as we were in the studio with each other, all of that melted away and became resources for us to tap into in the studio. And I found that to be super moving. And as I said, it doesn't happen. So I then went to UCLA and got a master's in education and started YPG right after. Here, why don't we actually skip Boom Snap Clap and go to the Brownsville's Got Me Out My Mind and play that one first.
Let's do that.
So this song that I'm going to play here was written with one of the kids at the Alternatives to Incarceration Center. This is really where I saw the power of collaboration, as we've been talking about all weekend, as a bridge across socioeconomic boundaries. This is about Brownsville, which is a neighborhood in East Brooklyn that this kid grew up in.
My heart broke, so listen to the story of Brownsville. Yo, Brownsville, where drama takes place. Got dudes running in your face, even trying to run up in your place. Gotta lay low, better play it safe. Every morning hearing gunshots.
That's hot. Thank you. After that, as I said, I went to UCLA, and the second year at UCLA, you have to get hired, and you write your master's while you're working at a school. So this video I made was at a charter school in South LA. I was teaching a music class there, and when I work with K through 12 kids, and when you work with the elementary age kids, a lot of what you do is actually writing music with the kids. So I don't know if you guys, any people from Southern California, but basically in Southern California, everybody somehow knows this like boom, snap, clap, boom, boom, snap, clap, snap, boom, snap, clap, boom, boom, snap, clap. It's just like,
that works.
Yeah, so I asked the group of kids what they wanted to make a song about, and that was their idea. So we took that and made a song, and the song was banging, and the kids were really into it. So I got some filmmaker friends of mine, and we made this video.
Hey, take out your phone so we can hear that new Boom Snap Clap Jam.
Yeah, I want to hear that new Boom Snap Clap Jam.
Yeah, that song is crazy.
Can we turn it up a little bit?
Turn it up.
Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap, snap. Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap. Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap, snap. Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap.
Boom snap clap, boom boom snap clap, snap. Boom snap clap, boom boom snap clap. Boom snap clap, boom snap clap, snap.
Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap. I just can't stop with the boom snap clap. Even when I'm getting burgers, a boom snap clap.
I can't even eat cause I'm boom snap clap. It's my favorite beat, it's my obsession.
Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap, snap. Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap. Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap, snap. Boom snap clap, a boom snap clap.
Boom snap clap, boom boom snap.
Nicely.
Thank you. Yeah, so kids they have amazing ideas, amazing creative energy, but don't know how to contain it, right? And as producers, that's what we do all day, every day, right? So being able to take their ideas and turn it into a song is both very powerful for them and also really fun to do. So I've developed a process, basically a step-by-step process, where you can very easily, this is like the first page of it, where you come up with an idea, you basically ask the kids, what do you want to make a song about? They give you something. Usually the list of ideas they have is insane. And then you basically just pull on that thread and you make a basic beat, write lyrics with them, record it, and something happens. You know, a song, like I just made a song with a group of second graders. They wanted to make a song about a cheese demon. So we made a song about a cheese demon. So here, let's play just one or two more. So this song that we'll play next is called Si Senor. This was at actually a sleepaway camp called Camp Harmony. It's for kids in homeless shelters around LA. They go up to this fancy camp in Malibu for the week. And this group of kids wanted to make a song about Si Senor. So this is what happened.
Si, señor. Si, señor. Si, señor. Si, señor. Do you like to party? Si, señor. Do you like dancing? Si, señor. Are you fancy? Si, señor. Let's keep this party rocking. Si, señor. Si, señor. Si, señor. Si, señor. Si, señor. Si, señor.
So yeah, we're in Germany, so we made a song with some German kids. They wanted to make a song about loving techno, but I've been talking for too long. Let's move on.
Let's have a little inkling, right? Should we get here? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a German-American school in LA.
We're the rock stars of Deutschland. We love techno. Wir sind die Rockstars of Deutschland. Ich liebe Techno. We're the rock stars of Deutschland. We love techno. Wir sind die Rockstars of Deutschland. Ich liebe Techno.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you. So, King.
Hi, my name's King James Britt. That's my real name. I'm from Philadelphia, and I had my first real teaching experience last year. I've always wanted to work with kids, but I never had the opportunity to. And, well, maybe you don't know who I am, but I've been producing and traveling as a DJ since '88 around the world, and work with a lot of people, collaborated, and so forth. But the best collaboration has been with these kids, right? So I never had the opportunity until last year when there's a place in Philadelphia called the Village for Arts and Humanities, and it's a 6-block radius right in the middle of the hood, like right where the projects are. And this 6-block radius is sacred ground. So when you go there, it's beautiful. I mean, they have murals and all community-based projects that have created this kind of little utopia within the inner city. And so when I first was there, I was mind blown. I took a tour, and they had an opportunity to submit a project to get a grant and use that money to improve on some of the things that were going on at the Village for Arts and Humanities. And so I submitted a program where I wanted to leave something there. Like, you know, a lot of people go in, they do things, but they don't leave something where they can kind of develop it from where you started. So basically I came up with the idea of, okay, let's build from scratch a studio. They have all these houses that they own, they got from the city that weren't being used in the neighborhood. So we took one of those houses, and the second floor we built a small studio, nothing fancy, just enough to get things done. And because of my connections, I was able to call Native Instruments, call all these different companies, and of course Ableton, and ask for software and for a push controller to use this medium to show the kids, because I feel that Ableton is the best software for making music. And I'm not just saying that because it's the Loop Festival. I'm really saying, like, it's so intuitive. And for kids, I feel that that's what they need. They need something that's intuitive. They want to get their ideas down, and they want to have fun first, and then learn the more fundamentals later. So I feel Ableton is that program to do that. So basically, you know, the powers that be here, we got Push and we got Ableton. So we built the studio, nothing fancy, but we built the studio. We got a mic, we got Ableton, we got Push, and some sounds from Native Instruments. And we went in there. So went in, they had a class already, a music production class. They're using Fruity Loops. And there were about 35 kids in the class. So you already have kids that are interested in doing it. And so I went in and I picked the 6 best. And the reason I kept it at 6, these 6 going through this project, we're going to teach the rest. Okay, so there I want to leave this studio where these 6 will take the studio and develop the studio for the community. And so now, after the project, the kids did a whole album. They run the studio, and to get studio time, you have to do community work. So you clean up the block, you help paint, you fix, you know, you put light bulbs in, whatever, you pick up trash. And each thing equals an hour of studio time. You know, I'd be cleaning up the street. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. But it's helped the community as far as making it look beautiful and having respect for where they live. But also, they're getting this studio time and they're making beats, you know what I'm saying? Or writing songs. So I just wanted to show this little, we did a 2-part documentary or 3-part documentary, but this is just a little bit so you can get to see some of the personalities and age. There's a different age group too. That I'm just coming in to kind of enhance what's already there and make it louder, amplify it for global consumption.
We've been making songs, and we're going to start doing remixes to them. We've been recording each other, writing our own lyrics.
What else can I say? I'm 16, running with my 10th Street fam. Yeah, I'm a girl, but my bar's still good. I'm the baddest girl that you've seen thus far. And you never gonna top that, never gonna stop that. Never gonna stop that, never gonna top that.
And it helps when you do it in triangles. Right. And less is more. Yeah. All right, here we go.
I was born to be dead. So what makes you think that I'm scared? Get that out your head. With that being said, please stay aware. My nigga, I'm here and going nowhere. Nah, you stuck with me, dog. You don't look forward to being happy for things because in life we get crushed a lot, you know what I mean? Like people get crushed a lot. So you start to look at things like, oh, it could happen, it could not happen. But with this, it's like, it's gonna happen. And we making good music. The neighborhood gonna see that. And the same way I felt like, oh, this could go, you know what I mean? I can get them out that funk.
So I was always like dealing with the music, but never on, you know, this aspect of it, never behind on the other side of the board. I was just in the booth with it. I got a total different, you know, respect for the game now, you know. I like this.
We're being prepped to take over the music part as far as the label and everything, so I hope I just soak all the knowledge up and then passing that on. It's a business. They say it's real hard to get jobs. All right, but you come here, you learn the talent, now you know how to produce, engineer, and all that, and you can make some bread, you know?
We're gonna upload the music for the CDs. You know, I'm just showing you what goes into putting a CD out. What do you wanna do at the label? But A&R is basically finding talent. Talent. You got so much talent around here. All you gotta do is get the tracks and then polish them. Now you're setting the precedence sonically, right? So everything's gotta sound good coming out of playback. I thought a radio show would be great. It empowers the community. You get to know people in the community just by doing the interviews and picking out the playlist. There's a rhythm to that, you know. You ready? You got the tracks ready?
What's up? Y'all
already know what it is. It's playback music.
The Electronic Music Marathon, we got a world premiere exclusives here for you. King Britt hooking it up, playback radio hooking it up. Don't touch that dial.
It's your girl musical, spell it with a C, never spell it with an S, coming at y'all live from KDU 91.7 FM.
I ain't start smiling the last month. You know, I always had the rock on. You know what I mean? I just started smiling, you know, dealing with these guys, man. So it's a good thing, man. I'm brushing my teeth more, baby. You feel me? I'm about to go get my top done, you know.
Tonight is the release party. Playback music release party, which I told y'all was coming before.
Considering like how we came such a far away from just like 5 people who thought of an idea to now.
Being at the age that I am, I'm 16, and that not many people are out here doing this. Like many people want to, but they don't have the options to.
All comes to this. Record release today, Strong and Independent. It was an honor to be in the studio with them. They produced everything, they wrote everything, they wrote the lyrics.
Classy J, musical, J Harmony, Jovi Joppers, Incredible Buck, they are playback music.
Now that we know that we've made like an impact on the media and like just on like the neighborhood all in general, we're just gonna push forward and try to make ourselves even more well known. Most of the time we have like a bad reputation, but it's like when you see stuff like this, it makes you completely change your whole perception of that neighborhood.
It shows that all you need is a little bit of access to go a long way. I'm super excited to see where they take it. I think in 10 years, man, it could be like moguls. Yeah, so it was just, they were so amazing. And you saw the age demographic. So Buck, the older one, his family, his uncle was one of the founders of the village. And you know, there's 4 generations that grew up in the neighborhood. So I felt that it was very important for Buck to be involved in it and kind of be sort of the leader of it because of that fact. And he has the knowledge, especially in hip hop, just that's his love, and he can pass that down, right? And then Jovi, he's 21, and he's from the neighborhood as well. But, you know, that's the generation under that. And then the 2 girls, they're called the Queens, no relation. And they, when I first saw them, they were making beats. And I was like, man, they're like little Pharrells, you know. But then they started rapping. And then she started singing. And they do this back and forth thing. It's just unbelievable. And then there's one more, Jay Harmony, who you might have seen him dancing. He missed the interview for the thing, but he's 17, and you know. So this core group now, they put out a CD on their own. They produced everything. I just mixed it, helped them mix it. They picked all their own sounds, and I was like, you know, make sure you pick the sounds that represent you and your personality. So that took a whole week just to pick the right sounds. So each one of them had their own palette, you know, of Ableton sounds. And yeah, and they did the record. So now they have a record label on Bandcamp. They have the studio, which they run, and they earn a little money, and they also help the community. And now they're teaching the younger ones. So it's incredible. Yeah. So I was really proud of them.
Fantastic. Thank you, man. Well, all really exciting, engaging projects. So I get the sense that all these projects are in after-school programs. They're not part of mainstream education, right?
I am in schools during the day.
Yeah.
So it's, both in school and after school. I think it's important to have both.
So what do you think it is about your approach that's so exciting and engaging in terms of projects that you've developed?
Well, I mean, this is the music that kids listen to. You know, this is what kids are into. You know, it's not, I don't have to convince them. You know, a lot of times with more traditional music programs, like if you hand a kid a flute, there's gonna, you know, that's not generally like, yes, like, you know, but like once you plug in a push, it's game over, you know, whether the kid's 4 years old or 14. It's like, I don't have to do anything, basically. I just set it all up and show them the basics and then answer questions along the way. You know, whereas it's not really the way with traditional music programs, I find.
Erin, what do you think?
I think it's actually my experience with teaching children has informed my experience with teaching adults, and it's like the more fun you have, the more you learn, inevitably. But I think the music technology stuff, I make a really concerted effort after each class is done. Like, I want you to export, right? Like the goal every single time. And then I email the songs. Some of them don't have email addresses, but I'll send it to their parents. And so there's just immediate results, and then they're listening to it at home, and they get really excited. So as like giving somebody a flute doesn't have that same kind of immediate result and like tangible element to it. So I just try to have fun and produce results, which is like kind of what my approach to making music is too.
So
could I piggyback off that?
Of course you can.
Most traditional music programs are about playing other people's music, right? And when you're working with live, it's all about making your own music, and that's really, really empowering, especially for kids who come from situations where they don't have that sort of empowerment often. And I think that's a really big deal that like most programs in America really just don't have any sort of composition or collaboration in music. And for me, that's the most fun part. That's really why I like making music.
And I guess it's from the ground up, right? You know, they own the music, they own the ideas, they own the productions.
Yeah.
So I know you've had some formal training. Yeah. Have both of you had formal training in terms of? Yes.
None.
So what is it? So would it be important to you to have formal training?
Do you mean in education?
In terms of teaching. I mean, you've obviously worked on projects from the ground up. You're able to deliver these projects. You're able to deliver them well. You've engaged students. So would you think it's important to have, you know?
I just think, you know, from my experience this one time, and I hope to do more. I actually want to do them around the country and then take it further. But because I DJ and I'm always collaborating and all, I'm a people person. So once you have that and you're comfortable with who you are and what you're showing, and it's pure, it's coming from a pure place, that's the best, you know?
The formal training that I got was not, I don't think it made me a better teacher. I knew that I had to get it if I wanted to get into schools. I knew it's just a matter of like access.
That's a tick box exercise essentially to
What's
get a tick box exercise. Yeah. So you've got the formal qualification. It means you can
exactly.
be in the building.
I mean, it's funny. A lot of the things that I learned when I was at UCLA just was confirming what I was already doing. You know, I don't think that you do have to have a formal education to be a good educator. I think a lot of the teachers that I went to school with at UCLA were actually pretty mediocre. And a lot of the musicians that I see are really good at engaging people. And that is the most important part of being a teacher, is being engaging with your class.
Sure.
I think it's just about communicating, right? Like what I said in the beginning, like producing, writing, performing, teaching, it's really all the exact same skill set. So I was really good at those other things before I started teaching, and it was pretty seamless for me. It was a little scary in the beginning, like especially with little girls. Like I get criticized by my peers a lot at Berkeley because, you know, I haven't taught at a college level before, but they have no idea how hard it can be.
Why they ridicule you? What do they, you know?
Well, I mean, I only have an undergraduate, right? But I teach at the associate level in academia, which is like a weird thing for people to wrap their heads around, especially older men. And so, I think it's a combination of many different elements about who I am, but people want to say, because I haven't done X, Y, and Z previously, that I do not have the qualifications to do 1, 2, and 3.
and that's, I think, is really important, because one of the biggest roadblocks that I've found with Young Producers Group is in order to put teachers into public schools, they have to have a credential. Even though a lot of the credentialed teachers that I've seen really aren't any better, but you have to go through that process. And then maintaining a credential is a serious headache as well. You have to basically do it all again after you've graduated, and that's if you even want to get your foot in the door.
So credentials need to change, right? Surely, you are bringing value. Yeah. There's clearly a need for what you're doing. There's clearly a need for this approach.
Yeah, but public school systems are, in many ways, in America, are just tankers that just take forever to turn. So it's definitely a challenge. There's workarounds. There's emergency credentials and substitute credentials that you can to just play the system. But it's really, the system is king.
I think the one thing I just wanted to say, it's one thing going into the schools, which is super important, but it's another thing to create. I rather just go where they need the access, go right to them, bring it to them, and create that, that explosion there, and make those schools recognize, yo, what's going on here? And they're going to partner up with you eventually. When you make noise, you know what I mean?
No, it's great.
It's just punk rock.
Classical pop rock with a sine wave kick drum. Cool, I'm going to open up to you guys. What do you think? Question at the back here. Do we have a microphone for? You take mine. Take mine.
Thanks. It's more of kind of a comment for you to comment further upon. But what struck me about all three projects, what's really beautiful, is that it makes things in a way come full circle. Because if you think of hip hop, it was basically created by a bunch of kids in one neighborhood, in one city, in one country in the world, and it turned into this global, multi-billion phenomenon, an industry thing. And to me, what all three projects seem to be doing is sort of giving it back to the people who created it in the first place. And it's just, I'm sort of crazy about really early old school hip hop, like Cold Crush Brothers, Grandmaster Flash, and so on. And if you look at footage of, it's the same people basically than the ones you're teaching now.
Well, the reality is that they haven't stopped. Everyone, in all parts of Los Angeles are very invested in hip hop, especially in LA. What I'm trying to do with Young Producers Group is help everyone do it better. The kids, when I was at the Alternatives to Incarceration Center in New York, almost all of the kids who were there were rapping every day. The kid Asher, who was on that track, was literally already writing lyrics every single day. So just putting a beat behind it was what he was missing. So it's not like anyone's stopped. It's just a matter of helping everybody do it better.
Thank you. Great question. Question at the front here, please.
Hi. Very, very interesting and inspiring work. This is actually a question that I would like to pose to the whole room, because we're so many educators in here. I'm from Copenhagen in Denmark, and it seems that we have a spectrum from being completely grassroots, after school hours, King Britt style, teaching way in the heart of it, to being poached and ending up in the academic world, or gaining the access ticket. But a place that I think we would all love to see this being respected more is in the educational system. And as you mentioned, it's a tanker, and it takes a while, and we can approach it from the top down, or we can approach it from the bottom down, or sneak in anywhere in between this. And I would love to hear how this works around where all the educators in the room are working. What are you actively doing? What's successful? What's not as successful? Because I think we could, of course, from the cultural backgrounds, certain things work here and there, but I'm sure that we can draw on this community experience which is in here, if it's okay with you. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Good question. Do you want to join me? Anyone else respond to Lazarus? Yeah, they've got a response over here.
So I teach at Stony Brook University, which is a public school system, in a very competitive music department. And I came in and said I want to make a class for people that don't know how to read music. And my God, the jaws, no, that's not a music class. I'm like, you guys were at a public institution. And I pushed it through, and it's popular, and those kids are now turning into music minors because they love it so much. They're like, I'm going to learn how to read music, and I'm going to do this. So.
Right, stepping stones, right? Yeah.
I think also in making training people to use the software or other tools in music making, digital music making, who are not necessarily music makers, but are already education professionals. So I teach at schools in South London, UK, and when you've got people who are teachers who actually just know how to use the shit, and then in lunchtime or within their own classes have got that as a resource which they can go to for a variety of reasons. So actually, I think a step to improving it can be that teaching people how to use the shit who aren't then going on to make music, but are already in the education system.
And yeah, I've gone back to UCLA and talked with professors there about, because a lot of people graduate from education programs and end up not being able to find jobs in education. So training them on this is a good way to make them a more viable hire for a school.
I don't know what the current setup is for licensing and so forth of softwares in regard to licensing for educational institutes.
But there are education licenses, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah. Come on, man. Get up.
Yeah, so I've actually done a little bit of work with Ableton. I'm a certified trainer as well, and I've done a lot of teaching, mainly actually working with abused kids outside of mainstream education. But this one project that I was involved with, a school had bought Ableton, and they'd had the music teacher was like really into it, but didn't really know how to use it properly or how to deliver it. And what I think is maybe the vehicle is a combination of this, is being able to tool up the people who are already inside the tanker. And so I built a couple of project sets that were kind of self-explanatory and actually were specifically aimed at key stage objectives. So looking at the curriculum and identifying exactly what it is in the curriculum, in communication with the teacher who knows that, right? And then developing a really fun set that's like interactive and immediately hands-on, so you don't have to get into programming anything to start with. You just load it up and then you go, and that's the door, right? I think that they love easy
solutions,
yeah,
right?
And so if as a group of people who want to get this into those places, if we can start creating a resource pool for teachers in the tanker.
That's what I'm doing.
And yeah, so you're already on that case.
Yeah,
and I think
professional development is
from
key.
what I've seen is that's the way to get in there. And then they can bring you in as a guest, right? So I went in to do a session. I'm not a ticketed teacher or anything, but as a guest of a teacher, they can bring you in and you can then show them the flair and get them excited about it and get the teacher excited about it,
Yeah, and I teach Ableton all the time, and I've found that really within 3 or 4 hours you can give someone a very basic rundown of live, and they, obviously with some practice, can take that, because live, I say this all the time, you can go this deep with live and make beautiful music and have a really good time doing it and tour the whole world. And then also, if you want to, you can spend the rest of your life just digging, But really, within those 3 or 4 hours, I mean, it might be kind of hard with the sort of like, old crusty band teacher who really doesn't.
Sibelius.
Yeah, but you think that, but this guy's the guy who wants the easy option, right?
Yeah.
So if you give him on the plate, this is like your class is going to rock, he's going to buy that.
This is great, by the way.
I also work back in the UK, and I also now work for Ableton as well. So I'm this is great for me because I'm getting some feedback right now. But one thing that I've noticed, I am an ex-high school teacher as well, and producer, educator, yeah, it's all about a jacket. But one thing to add what Mark said as well, that what I've found, if you're hitting sort of, closed doors when you go to the schools, is that where you talked about kind of hoodwinking the kids to having fun by fun first and then that later. The teachers need it kind of explaining to them that sometimes if there's no money like to bring in externals and stuff like that, so what you need to do is exactly what you were saying before. You get them to write lyrics, that's English. You're getting them to use beats, and you kind of come in from different funds. And every time people say there's no money in education, it's not true. There's like inclusion funds, there's Every Child Matters, there's all these things. They're all there. What you need to do is do what I did. One of my friends is a deputy head, and I said, right, tell me how it works. Where does the money go? Who is this? How do you do that? What schools want to do? And the first thing that most schools want to do is show off how good their music is. If every time a school's got to sort of put themselves in public, get the music guys to do something. And when they see this, it's like, oh, right. So just kind of tap into other sources. Don't think music when you go and think social inclusion. Think
Totally.
Every Child Matters. And it does work. You just got to keep hitting on those doors.
So anything to make the institution look great in public.
Pretty much, yeah, because that's all that. I mean, schools in the UK, you're not wishing to, so I'm sure you can add to this that you got their head teacher, he's a businessman. And then your deputy head teachers that run the show for them. If you can show them, say, look, you've got all these kids, you ask them what they want. And we did Musical Futures in London, Music Learning Revolution, and I saw things that were just amazing. But I saw teachers that were really passionate, and they had to go back. And I said, well, keep in contact, come back, let me know how you got on. And that's the thing, that the teachers themselves, and find a lot of passionate teachers that understand this is what we need to do, and it's just the whole system. I don't think it matters which country you're in, it's the same thing.
Does everyone agree? The same kind of frustration, right?
Yeah, if we take it back to a more macro level, I think the most interesting thing about education globally is that, like, if we look at its purpose, it's to aid people to fit an economy. That's the purpose of education. So if we look at that, then we can see that education as it stands is used to fit people into an economy model that no longer exists. So the entire thing is actually redundant. So what we're going up against, which is the same on every level regardless of pretty much what subject we're looking at, is like countering traditionalism. What you guys are all talking about is going up against an old system, And it's interesting because hearing you guys talk about education is the same as what we do in music. We criticize mainstream media and we don't want it to exist, and how have we gotten around it? We've gotten around it by the internet, by building our own media. And so the thing I find most beautiful is these guys cropping up their own systems, because there's no use in fighting the old, It only works if we build the new, so it's so inspiring, oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Okay.
Don't get back to us.
Anyone else? Question, guy at the back. No, his mic's coming.
So it would be amazing to have your students here and watch you teach. But since we don't, do you have a favorite lesson or a specific technique that you like to share that is good to explain music making to people that have no experience making music before? Is there something that you find that works really well in the class?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to say is that when you're working with a 4-year-old, the thing that you're going to do is going to be different than when you're working with like high schoolers, So elementary age kids, that little PDF that we showed here, that step-by-step process is absolutely amazing. Anybody who's interested, please email me. It's lawrence@youngproducersgroup.com. I'd be happy to send it to you. That is amazing, because a group of kids coming up with an idea and then taking that idea and making it real and putting that online, it's phenomenal. That is really, really great. So yeah, I mean, I really recommend that to all of you guys. It's such a good time.
I have a really effective technique that I do right away, and it changes everything, is that we need to be making music within the first 5 minutes of class. We sit down, and I put the controller there, and I just start the metronome, and I'm like, okay, go. And then I just give them the one square, and then we're immediately making music, and that completely sets the tone, and it makes a big difference. Other than I see a lot of other people teaching technology and talking about it instead of actually using it, and that's what I do.
And to reiterate and to jump on that, when working with these kids, first time ever or whatever, having pushed there, you know, the first thing they see is the lights, you know, and they immediately want to touch it and just see what comes out. So I made a template where it's just the drum. I made like a drum rack with, you can dial through 100 kicks, 100 snares, 100 hats. And then there's a instrument rack with a bunch of synths. Because I come from hardware, right? I'm old school. So I'm used to like, okay, go through the presets. You know, when you first open something out of a box, you want to go through. So I kind of wanted that mentality. And then, so you got the synths and then a bunch of bass sounds that you can go through. And like you said, instantly, okay, you want to make a beat? Find your kick drums, find your snares, and here's the, you know, parameters. This yellow box here, you can make your beat. Kick drum, and it's all mapped out, just so they can immediately get in. And within 10 to 15 minutes, they're already got beat, bass, and they're like noodling on the synth. So it's like you said too, making it easy for everybody, not just the teachers, but making it easy for the students and everyone to just immediately get into Ableton or whatever software. But boom, yeah. Exactly.
It's just go.
Yeah, that's really the best way to learn is I like to pair kids up. They're working on something. If they have a question, they raise their hand. They're like, oh, how do I make this change? How do I make this knob change? You know, and then, oh, automation, right? Whereas if I were to do a lesson, this is automation. You go like that. You know, that, it's like you can just see it, like, you know, yeah, seriously. And really, it has to be learning by doing. And the beautiful thing is with live and with push, it's so much fun to do it, you know?
I mean, I specifically teach songwriters right now, and they're just they like to think themselves as adverse to technology. Like, I'm not supposed to be good at that, you know? So they just don't, they already come from a mental place of not having fun. And so I make sure that we start with the thing that's fun for them. I'm like, okay, you know what you're gonna do? The first thing you're gonna do in the DAW is write a song because you think that's fun. And it completely, it just changes the result. You know, if somebody was really into something else, I'd try to lean on whatever their strengths are already.
Okay, I have a question, I think to Erin, concerning one new thing that you did recently, which was this massive online collaboration thing. I run a school in Zurich, a certified training center in Zurich, and I always think it's quite difficult to move traditional content online. So how did you solve this this thing to move online and move forward in this direction?
Well, I had a lot of help, not gonna lie. So Berkeley Online, they engaged me to write this course, and really it's just a feeder for their curriculum, which people then presumably pay money to take. So, and it's all linked to this platform, which is called Coursera. And you can learn pretty much anything on Coursera. It's all EDU. It's universities and colleges, like accredited colleges, have curriculum on there. So I was really plugged into the process that Berkeley Online already had put in place. They did all the filming and the post-production and the subtitling for all the different languages. So really all I did was write material that was easy to understand, and then, be the person that captured the screen flow and spoke. So, I wish I could take credit for that, but they pretty much had like an infrastructure in place by the time I came in. I've had some really crazy experiences because of it.
What kind of experiences?
Yeah, exactly, that would be.
I had to kind of like disappear from the internet because I became, like, even though I'm the person that wrote that course, people associate everything that's good or bad about it with me as an individual person. So I was getting inundated with, and the only people that want to tell you something is when something's really right or really wrong. So I was just bombarded by people trying to reach me through every single avenue, my websites. Somebody found my telephone number from my office, which I didn't even know I had a phone number in it, and it just rang. I was like, hello? Somebody's like, my certification didn't go through. I'm like, oh my God. So it was weird because I was trying to give back to the community, and then the second I was exposed to them, I kind of had to like hide. And it's so hard trying to teach everybody. If I'm talking about teaching a child or teaching a songwriter, that's a specific person, you can kind of cater to them. But trying to teach everybody from every different economy, every different country, every different language, every different gender, it really taught me a lot about myself.
What is clear is that being an artist educator, it's about being responsive, collaborative, agile, creating fun, just all these words that make sense to us initially, right? So why are these words missing in mainstream education, mainstream teaching?
Well, in the U.S., public schools are symptomatic of much larger social issues. There's a lot of kids being robbed of good educations, and in that are sort of, condemned to like struggling. So I think that the issues that we're facing in education are much larger than just education. That was one of the things that UCLA was really amazing on, was looking at the larger social issues behind why public schools in the U.S. are so bad. So I'd say that's really, probably the biggest issue here is that it's part of a much larger social problem.
And to add to that, a lot of the teachers in the U.S., I can only speak about the U.S., they're not really being compensated fairly. And, in Philly, they've closed half the schools. It's crazy. Like in the neighborhood where we did this, where the Village for Arts and Humanities is, there's one school. Like all the other schools, like they all have to be taken out of the neighborhood to go to school. They closed all the schools. There's no access. Like, I went in there, oh yeah, we're gonna get online. They didn't have internet. I'm like, oh snap. You know what I mean? They all use their phone to get online. So it's these little things like, when they have a Bandcamp page, but they say CDs are more important in the neighborhood because no one has internet access. You don't think about these things because we just assume, So in Philly or in America, like the teachers aren't getting compensated enough. Schools are being closed, and no one wants to disrupt the system. Like teachers are like scared they're gonna lose their job or, something's gonna happen, so they don't want to disrupt the system too much. We don't, even though they may be passionate teachers, they have families, they have these, responsibilities, so they're scared.
In the years.
So it takes people like us to fucking come in there and do some shit. Or I'm just, I know you're filming this,
why we're
but
here, right?
I can't hold it.
No, of course.
It's like, come on, man. Like, I think you're doing it the right way. Like, you have access, and you're in the machine, like you were saying. You're in there, and you're making changes. Because I'll curse someone out. I need to just do it. Do it, by be the change you want to see, and do it on a big level. Luckily, I have access to a lot of these things, and then make that noise and go.
Hold on a
I guess
second.
you missed the.
Be the change.
I guess you
Are
missed
the
the
change.
video and
Yeah.
everything.
We'll update you in a second. So 1 second. So Erin, your response to that?
I find in academia specifically, things never change. And I was actually having a conversation with somebody earlier about us switching DAWs in my department, because currently the only workstation that we teach in my department is Pro Tools for songwriters. And when I became chair, my first suggestion was, why don't we let them use whatever they want to use? And immediately it was like, oh, but my book that I wrote that goes with the class and my life. So I think it's really threatening. Anytime people, when we say you need to change, you know, all those people that actually are in the position to do something like that, they have to change, and they don't want to change.
So are we flogging a dead horse here in terms of if things aren't going to change, then it's about creating change outside? I mean, you've got an approach in the system, of course. You've got an approach outside.
I think it has to be both. You know, really, if it's all just after-school programs, that won't be enough. If it's all just in school, that's also not going to be enough. And I think it also requires, just as I said, just larger social change that is going to have to be not just teachers, but everyone. You know, and yeah, it's like it's crazy. I mean, really, it really is that bad. You know, like in LA, a lot of kids really only learn math and English because that's what's tested. And you know, like not even like science and history get time in curriculums a lot of the time. You know, like straight up academic subjects, you know, because they're not tested on the big standardized tests, you know. So I think people know that public schools are bad, but I don't think people realize how fucked they are.
Okay.
Quick comment on the change thing, like people not wanting to change. That's definitely the experience I have, but and I think this isn't just about music, but everything. If you want people to change, don't tell them to change. You do something better, and they want to change. And that's the only way I can see anything like that happening, because people don't want to be told to change.
It's the fact that change happens in one's consciousness long before it illustrates itself in their external reality. So before we get completely disheartened, like, I think there's much to be said for planting seeds, regardless of how frustrating and debilitating it can be for the person who's giving all of their efforts on the outside. But if we think of how many albums that were made and were understood 20 years after they were, do you know, there's so much to be said for the planting of a seed is all I want.
And I think music really does have that power. You know, hearing Asher sing or rap about what it's like growing up in Brownsville, seeing a little kid get shot at the bus stop, you know, like that, you wouldn't know that was happening unless you heard it. You know, so literally putting a microphone in front of a kid and say, what do you want to talk about? That's a radical act, you know? And I think what I'm trying to do with Young Producers Group is get as many microphones in front of as many kids' faces as I can across the country. And in doing that, in flooding the country with media about what's happening, and also about fucking cheese demons, you know, to show that there's more than just pain, there's also joy, you know, I think that's important because it's really, this is what I saw with the kids in Brownsville. People don't mix. You know, kids from West LA don't go into Brownsville and make music with kids. Like, it just doesn't happen, you know? So visibility and, exposure is so critical. And music is, especially when there's, you know, an 808 underneath it, it's pretty easy to hear it, you know?
Nice one.
I just wanted to agree with you.
No, you're good. Keep
Okay.
going. Yeah.
I work a lot with electronical camp for girls in Sweden.
Cool.
And also rock camps. We do all kinds of camps. And originally we started out 2003 with this. And I come myself from a rock background. And then in the beginning, I was like, hello, girls, come on, you can do it. Be harder. Then I think I myself tried to change them to become more tough, to be able to come out in the music business. But now we don't think like this. We more think, like you said, to give them a platform. Here are the tools. And now you do what you want within this space. Please, I give you space, I give you a mic. And you yourself, so it has not, I just agree on not trying to change others. I think it's important.
Thank
Awesome.
you. A question at the back, two at the back, and then one at the front.
what I also experienced, I'm an Ableton certified trainer as well. What I experienced is that if you have a teacher and a student, there is not a difference. You are all making music at the same time, and it's not you teaching them, it's basically they're teaching you as well. So what I, for example, like to do is have an improvisation with all of them, and then I'm the conductor and conducting, pointing people out. Maybe you make a bit of music, doesn't matter what, now you make sound. And after a while, after 2 minutes, they get the idea, and then you just swap places. You let someone else teach, and you are one of the players. So you can show them what you want them to be or change them, and they can be in your role, and they can feel, oh, that's what he's trying to do. And I think it's a very interesting idea to stick at the same level. That there's no difference between student and teacher.
I want to build on that real quick. I think part of the reason why producers and Ableton heads make good teachers is that we are not stuffy teacher folk. A lot of the times you look up at the person standing in front of you and you can't relate to them at all, like at all, So I think kids are they look at us three and hear the way we talk and the way we just are. And I think that makes a big difference,
So there's a big disconnect between...
Yes, huge disconnect. So having someone...
Teacher and learner.
Yeah, having someone who's working with you that you can relate to is a really big deal.
Cool. Question in front here and then in the back.
Yeah, I was wondering about the status of music technology, or should I say technological music in this case. I am educating a classical flutist, actually.
Sorry. It had to happen, man. It had to happen.
And I have also been teaching it. But
You didn't say you had MIDI attached to it as well, so that's another thing.
but
it's hilarious.
Do you experience that it is a conflict between traditional instrumental music teaching and your more technological take on it with regards to founding and status in the American school system?
Well, totally. So I was just at a grant writing thing for LAUSD, and they were...
What's LAUSD?
LAUSD is the Los Angeles Unified School District. It's the second biggest public school system in the country. They were basically announcing, they brought in community arts partners, which YPG is one of them, and said, we're going to be giving out grants. This is what you're going to have to do. And they basically said the 7 areas that will be receiving grants. They said visual arts, dance, and their music bins there was the vocal music and instrumental music. So digital electronic music wasn't even on their radar. I don't think they even know it exists, literally. So I don't think it even has a status at this point in public schools. Making people aware of it is a big deal.
I find that schools like to use the word STEM or STEAM, right? So music isn't necessarily in that acronym, but technology is. So it's an easier sell to say, I'm going to put arts in your school through technology, which is something that I think all schools are very interested in and kind of confused by. So it's I can give you technology and engineering and arts, you've got the A in it as well, all in one package. So I think that, if you look at it from that perspective, it's almost, it's a asset as opposed to a liability. It's I'm teaching music, but really I'm teaching them STEM. And every time I use that word, they're just yes, and it, whether or not they even know what it correlates to or means.
Nice one.
Sorry. In Philly, there are a lot of schools that are starting to use iPhones as the means to music production. Because you can do a whole album on an iPhone, no problem. Every single kid, 90% of the kids, I'm just bringing 90%, but all have iPhones. In the poorest neighborhood, they have an iPhone. Right, because they're doing these deals where they're giving the iPhone away for a 2-year contract, and everyone has access to an iPhone. So they're doing a lot of these music programs with the iPhone, like after-school programs. But I think in Philly, a lot of the schools that are left are starting to realize, like, especially with the EDM sensation in America, that electronic music is super important to what's going on. And, of course, hip-hop has always been kind of like, we want that in the class, but we don't know how to do it. And now with the iPhone and and it's super affordable to download an app, you know, Nano Studio or whatever. It would be great if Ableton had like an iPhone, little Ableton Lite or something on the iPhone, just to, you know, take note. But but just saying, like, it's starting to become part of the language when speaking about programs. Now, talking about acoustic instrumentation, a lot of kids, especially in urban neighborhoods, you know, hip-hop's huge, sampling's huge, and kids are learning so much about the history of music through sampling. So they may hear Herbie Mann, who's one of the best jazz flautists. Is that how you say flautist? Is that flutist? Flautist. I like flautist. But they may love what Herbie Mann does because Tribe Called Quest sampled it, and that may spark interest in playing the flute. You know what I mean? Because I definitely know a lot of bass players who kids who want to play upright because of Ron Carter on Tribe Called Quest or Diggable Planets or whatever. They see the videos and whatever. So I think there's just a different approach in getting kids interested in acoustic instruments through electronics and through sampling.
And you know, it's worth mentioning, you know, with this whole status of electronic music education, like this is brand spanking new. Like really, we are right. I feel very fortunate to be on that cutting edge because we can define the terms at this point. We can say we want it to be on every school's computer in the country because there's no precedent. Why not? You know, and it can. You know, there really is no good reason why not. You know, so and you know, like as King was saying, like kids have iPhones even in really rough neighborhoods, and a lot of houses have at least one computer. You know, so we don't have to take it away. And for the most part, it doesn't exist yet. So we can define what that access will be. And all three of us, I think, are trying to make that access complete.
I think that, so I get a lot of kids, especially at the girls club, because it's like right in the middle of the projects. And they're like, oh, Brittany really loved your class. Like, how are we going to get it at home? You know, and there is this disconnect between what are the tools you're teaching them, especially if it's a push. You know, that's a luxury item. And a lot of times they don't have computers. They don't have email accounts. They don't have internet. So I think a lot of people, they don't have that. And I get a lot of questions like, can she do this on her tablet, across platforms, you know, definitely not just Mac products. So I think that it's a conundrum, you know, and I have a lot of developers approach me. Like I just had these people called Oxy, which is a workflow that's very similar to Ableton in certain respects. And they're like, can you duplicate this so that we can give it to people at home? You know, good, bad, or indifferent. I think that is a valid question when you say, here's the stuff, look at all these cool buttons and lights, and like you go home and how are you gonna replicate that? It's hard.
And that's also where after-school programs, you know, are important, and having access to after-school programs, because if they don't have a computer at home, hopefully there is a center nearby that does.
Nice one, thank you. Great question. We're done? Blimey, it's gone so fast. Yeah. So we've got a. So this has been amazing. Thank you very much, everyone.
Seriously.
This has been really, really engaging. But just for the last question, for you guys, for aspiring, you know, certified trainers or artists and producers who want to get into the world of education, what would be the best approach?
Well, I'd love to make you a part of Young Producers Group. Seriously, email me. It's Lawrence@youngproducersgroup.com. I would really love to get you in the mix. But you know, like, reach out to schools. Just call people. You know, like literally when I was at UCLA and I needed to get hired in that second year, I literally Googled middle school in South LA and hit up 15 middle schools. Like, this is what I do. Are you interested? And one of them was like, yeah. You know, so just be determined, you know, and the reality is that kids really want this knowledge, and you will very easily find way too many kids than you'll be able to take seriously. So just put yourself out there and email me.
And most cities have programs, have people that have already implemented programs that may be similar or may need to take that next step technologically with music. So it's good to just, like you said, Google and find these programs within your cities and call them, like you said, partner up and tell them what skills you're going to bring to the table and how you can implement it.
And frame
with
it
them.
in technology, right? Seriously, as we were saying, like STEM, it's a buzzword.
I think that the best thing you can do is serve your community. For me, it was women, you know, and it made all the difference because this is a really crowded space right now, music technology curriculums. I have people hit me up all the time asking me to look at their stuff. What can I do to help them? And really the thing that was for me is I found the people that my community that I was a part of, and it was seamless. It was easy to get in, to build. And so, you know, if you live in a place where you wish there was a program like that, then that's where you should do it. It's like, maybe not even plug into the places where it already exists, but find your people that you care about and serve them. And then the rest just will fall into place.
Erin, King, Lawrence, thank you so much.